Welcome to another workshop offered by the University of Kentucky and the Office of Work Life. Today, we're going to be talking about managing your stress when caring for children and elders. And our guest speaker today is Ann Bassoni. She is one of the therapists in human resources serving UK employees at the University of Kentucky.
Hi, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I'm glad you're here. As Azetta said, my name is Ann Bassoni. I am one of a handful of therapists that offer free mental health services to UK employees, retirees, sponsored dependents, and we see children, adults, elders, the whole gamut. The only thing we don't do is couples counseling. And we will try and help you find a referral for that if that's what you need. The visits are confidential. They don't go in your personnel file. They don't go in your health record. And everybody gets 5 visits per fiscal year. So if it's something that you would like to take advantage of, I encourage you to do so. We have some good therapists on staff, and we'd love to talk to you. Let's see. So today we're talking about managing stress when you're caring for children and or elders. We do have people right now who are caring for both elders and their children, and that's difficult. One by itself is hard enough, but doing both can be really, really difficult. Let's see here. Gotta figure out how to move this. Okay. So managing stress when caring for children and elders, we're going to talk about some of the signs of parenting stress and caregiving stress. They're a little bit alike, a lot alike, and then there's some differences. And then we're going to talk about how you can develop your own coping strategies for dealing with the stress, and then I'll take any questions. But as Azetta said, anytime you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat box or interrupt. I'm happy to answer questions as we go. So some of the symptoms of parental stress. How many of you, first of all, are here in regards more to parenting stress? 1, 2. All right. Okay. All right. And how about elder care stress, caregiving? Okay. Anybody doing both? Okay. Okay. So it looks like we have one person doing both. All right. So one of the things like, can you all give me some examples of things that cause you stress as a parent? Situations, things your kids do, things your kids don't do, parenting with someone else, the difficulties. What are some of those, Megan?
So I have a toddler, and just the pace gets exhausting because like she changes activities and trains of thought every few seconds, and like my brain can't keep up with that many transitions at once.
So you're just getting into that first transition, and your child is off to the races.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Mental health for children, staying on top of laundry, school activities, homework, all the things. A teenager, and he gets angry, emotionally elevated very often. 1 to 5 times a day. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, and you know, you've got kids that are young, you've got kids that are in elementary school, you got kids that are preteens and kids that are teenager. And there's a lot of challenges that go with each of those age groups. You know, one of the things that happens is that we are often tired. For a lot of people, working all day, coming home, you know, doing the parenting stuff, doing the home stuff. Maybe your kids are involved in activities, so you're running around doing that. It adds up real quick to having very limited time. And what we see oftentimes for parents, it can be there's not enough time to get from one thing to the next, or you feel like you're always running late, or there's a lot of guilt if you do something or if you don't do something. Sometimes if you're more tired, things bother you a little bit more. So what we see as far as stress for parents go is that you kind of get that brain fog where you're not quite sure always if you're thinking clear, or even that I can't tell you how many times my friends who are parents will say, well, they say I told them that, but I don't remember, or, we were going to do this and I just can't quite remember if that's the truth. So that happens. I think one of the biggest things, though, is that oftentimes sleep can be difficult, and that seems to be a big problem throughout the United States. Is people not getting enough sleep, and when we don't get enough sleep, it really impacts our emotional health, our mental health, our physical health, and what happens is we become oftentimes more short-tempered. We're more irritable. We can't focus as well. And so you put that, those are some of them. You put that in with some of the stress, and where you are more short-tempered when you are stressed as a parent. You forget things. I mean, I'm sure you've all experienced running out the door and you get to say your kid's school and you remember, oh, we left the soccer shoes back at the house and we were going to go after school and now we have to run home and all of that. So you start seeing the stress levels go up at different times. And a lot of times for many parents, especially single parents, but also for parents that are with a partner, it's feeling really isolated a lot of times. It's easy to think I'm the only one that's dealing with this, or people wouldn't understand, or my kid is different. They have this or they have that. And what we see is that when some things that increase parental stress is being a single parent, or having a child with special needs, or a child that has you know, mental health, physical health issues that require extra attention, or if they're having problems in school, things like that. So those things can add to the stress that parents feel. Does anybody else have any other kind of stress reactions to parenting that's not up here? Um, some other signs, just real quick, can be that your appetite can decrease or can increase. It just depends on who you are. Maybe you are having an extra glass of wine at night or another beer. So sometimes things like that will happen. What else? Some people tend to withdraw, which makes things even harder. So one of the symptoms that we see sometimes is, especially parents that don't feel like they have someone to talk to, or that their kids have some special needs, is they tend to withdraw more and isolate. So caregiver stress has some similarities. And I think you can say that some of these go with raising children and the stress of parenting. But I think one of the top ones is that feeling of being burdened and worrying all the time. Whether it's your parent is living with you, is living independently, or living in some other facility, there's a lot of worry. And this is something I'm going through right now. And my mom broke both her legs recently, and so she's in rehab, and we're not sure if she's going to be able to go home. So there's a lot that goes with, thinking of if she goes home, if she doesn't go home, how long is she going to be here? Worrying about her mental health. Is something going to happen and I'm going to get that call? So there's a lot of worry, and that happens a lot of times. For caregivers, they too often feel very tired, just like parents. They're worn out because most people are working and caring for. I think we have one of you that's caring for both your children and your parents, and that's what we call that sandwich generation, and you all are stretched thin, but there's often a feeling of being tired. Again, especially if you don't have a lot of extra support or people who are helping with your elder. So there can, again, the sleep issue can become apparent. For some people, they sleep too much, and for some people, they just can't get to sleep. Another sign of stress related to sleep is interrupted sleep, where maybe you sleep for an hour or two and you wake up. And sometimes you can go back to sleep and sometimes you can't. Again, with eating too much or too little, you might gain or lose weight. And that in itself, if you're not stressed and you're gaining or losing weight, can be stressful. So if you put that on top of stress, there's a lot of uncomfortability with that. If you become easily irked or angry, again, just like parents, short-tempered, things make you mad, things that maybe hadn't made you mad or upset or irritable in the past suddenly do. And one day you can take it, and the next day maybe you can't. And sometimes even within the same day, if it happened in the morning, maybe you're better off dealing with it better than if it happened in the afternoon. Um, and the things that people used to do to enjoy, and this is, I think, true with parenting and with elder care, is there seems like there's not enough time to engage in those activities sometimes that we used to enjoy, whether that is meeting some friends out to do something or for a meal, or taking time to do your own creative outlet, art or drawing or horseback riding or running, exercise, things like that. What happens for parents and for caregivers a lot of times is they will put themselves last. So they will make sure everybody else is okay, or have what they need, and then they don't, or have enough left over for themselves. And for some people, it might not even be about time. It might just be that you don't have an interest in this, which can be a sign of stress. It can be a sign of sadness and depression too. And again, feeling sad, just kind of feeling always down, things that used to make you happy or maybe not making you happy anymore. Or you get up in the morning and you think, well, I don't want to do this. So it's a struggle to get out of bed. That's one of the big ones we see for a lot of people, is just not wanting to get up and get going. Um, there's a lot of health issues, physical symptoms that can go with it. And some of these can be related to negative emotions. Some of them can be due to, just the lack of sleep or a change in appetite, or things like that can lead to some physical symptoms, especially headaches, stomach aches, aches and pains. A lot of people will get a tight neck, or wherever you feel that stress. For me, I know when my neck and shoulders start to get tight, I know I'm feeling more stressed and I need to stop and figure out what's going on. Again, misusing alcohol or drugs, including prescription medications. And it's particularly when you have elders, they tend to have more medications. So the access to medication is a little bit easier sometimes. And it can be tempting for some people. Again, and then that whole thing of taking care of other people, is you start to put your own needs behind, and that might mean you don't go to that doctor's appointment, or you don't make that dentist appointment, or boy, you need physical therapy, but you can't get there. There's no time. So it becomes more important that I get my dad to his appointment, or my child to their appointment. And oh wait, then there's a switch, and that's the same time as my appointment. So I'll cancel mine and I'll take them. So our physical health and our mental health are often put last. And that just leads to a whole lot of other problems. Did anybody in here relate to any of this, or say, oh yeah, this is one of my big ones when I'm feeling stressed, that you feel like sharing or just writing in the chat? Don't make me just talk at you all day long. Oh. What else do you guys feel? Or do you relate
I don't
to?
know, like decision fatigue is one that I get a lot. Like by the end of the day, after I've been making decisions for work and decisions for my daughter and decisions about the family. Like, I just don't want to pick something for dinner.
Right.
It's not even that I don't want to cook. I just don't want to pick.
Right. So you come home and your partner might say, "Oh, well, where do you want to go to dinner?" And you just about want to lose your mind.
Yes.
I don't know, just somewhere, just pick somewhere and we'll do it. Yeah. You know, as that is said, you get that tension in your neck. Putting things off or canceling things for myself. Yeah, it definitely happens when things for kids get busy. Yeah, and it's almost it almost happens without thought sometimes. You know that that you will cancel for yourself and make sure that your kids or your elder will get to their appointment. Putting everyone else's needs first and no time for me, right? And do you ever start to feel a little resentful of that or angry or things like that? Because that's a really natural reaction when we put other people before ourselves. It's just it's not unusual to feel those. And I think sometimes people feel bad for feeling like, feeling some negative emotion, anger or frustration. Okay, so you all understand a lot of these. Let's see here. Um, so there's there's some different ways of coping, and I think we all know like the deep breathing, the meditation, exercise. Definitely, I think we all know that these are good ways of coping. Um, And the thing often though is I don't have the time. I can't tell you how often I hear someone say, I don't have the time for that. And so part of what your challenge is where can you find the time? I've had people who say, well, I like to get in 30 minutes of exercise, but I don't have 30 minutes in a time. Well, can you do 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, break it up a little bit? Maybe it's not the intensity that you want, but at least you get some exercise. Maybe at lunch, maybe you only get 30 minutes for lunch. You spend 20 minutes eating and you take a lap around whatever building you're at, or you walk out to your car and you come back. Um, Things like that. And those kind of things, it's even better if there's, well, for a lot of people, if you can find somebody to go walking with. I know for me, I would prefer to go for a walk by myself if it's the middle of the day. But for other people who are more extroverted, they might want to have somebody go for a walk with them or sit down and eat lunch with someone. But where can you it's kind of that double dipping thing. Maybe you've got both your kids are at practice and you're sitting there and either you spend some time talking to other parents or maybe you bring a book that you've been wanting to read and you start reading that, or some activity relaxation thing that you enjoy. Those are things that maybe you do at the same time. But I really liked, did I skip one? Hold on just a sec. Yeah. Okay. So the first thing to do when you start feeling the frustration, the anger, the depression, and maybe even jealousy, I think, I don't have kids, so my friends sometimes will will get a little jealous that I can do what I want to do when I want to do it, that I don't have to worry about getting the kids ready or that they have some activity. And sometimes I get a little jealous that they have kids and that's part of their life that they get to go and do these things. So having that jealous feeling, or especially for elder care, when your friends are experiencing their kids have gone off and now it's kind of you were anticipating maybe empty nest and now you've got a parent to take care of. And some of your friends just don't understand it, why you can't just go out and you feel it's hard to explain to them that you feel guilty if you do and the different feelings. So the first thing when you start to feel that stress building is really to stop and ask yourself, what is really going on here? Am I angry? Am I frustrated that my kid just spilled the milk? Or am I frustrated that today I turned in that big project and they didn't like it and they handed it back to me and now I have to work even harder to get it done in the next couple of days? So you want to figure out, is it what's going on, what's right in front of me? Or is it something else that has happened during the day that you haven't addressed, you haven't worked with? And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. But here's the thing, we all experience those roadblocks emotionally, where we just run in. I mean, you've heard that expression, I just ran into a brick wall and I could do nothing else. And that's when we've just lost, our reserves, so to speak. And so if we try to keep pushing, if we try to keep going, what happens then is that the situation elevates and maybe we yell louder than we want. For some people, and I hope this doesn't happen, but some people will lash out physically, or things like that. So if you can stop and say, okay, what is going on? What's the feeling? Is it related to what's going on or something that happened earlier? And if you can tell yourself, well, of course I'm frustrated. I've had a really hard day. And then, little Lisa over here just spilled her milk. And now there's one more thing I have to clean up. So it's okay to say, I'm feeling this. What's important is that, that you're loving, that you're caring, and you have strengths, but you also have limitations. So I think that's hard in these situations. So it's really good to practice saying that in the morning when you get up, or even having a sticker somewhere that reminds yourself that, I have strengths, we all have limitations, we all run into the brick wall. Something that you can remember so that when that's going on, it's a little bit easier to remember that we all have limitations. And then I think that plays perfectly into accepting yourself, accepting that you're not perfect, that there are going to be times you yell when you wish you didn't yell. And this is just small, but I have 2 cats. I don't have kids. I have 2 cats. And I have one cat, John Goody, who loves to play in the middle of the night. And he will come and he will lick my face and he will stare at me and he will jump on me. And sometimes I just am like, I just lose it. And then I feel so guilty. And it's a cat. It's a cat. So I've yelled at my nephews and my nieces before. It's not a good feeling. And then, what I have to tell myself is, well, I shouldn't have yelled, but I'm really tired. I need my sleep. Of course I yelled. When he jumped on me, it scared me. I didn't know what was going on. I reacted. So remind yourself that you're not perfect. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to, there are going to be moments where you are the complete rock star. And there are times where you think, boy, I just really failed that test. But if you can remind yourself that that's not your total being, but just in that moment. And then there's the difference between being able to control and work with your emotion and versus saying, I don't want to feel this, because we're all going to feel jealousy probably, or frustration or anger. But if we say to ourselves, I never want to be angry, I won't feel angry, that's going to make it worse, because we all have that emotion. There's nothing wrong with it. And it's part of being human that we're going to experience these different emotions. So if you can accept your own flaws, your own challenges, it also makes it easier then to accept the challenges of, say, your parent or your child, that they also have rough times, or they are going through things and they react too. So it helps kind of put us a little bit more on a level playing field, because what the problem becomes when we push these negative feelings down, or we ignore them, or we feel guilty, because those are not productive for us. They just tend to make us feel worse. And I like this exercise because there's something about the act of writing things down that can be really helpful for us. And I know a lot of people now have phones and they want to use their phones. Okay, if that's what you want to do, that's fine too. But if you can, when you're feeling that buildup and you're starting to feel more frustrated, if you can write down the feelings you've had, say, in the last 24 hours, and the good, the bad, the negative, the positive, the strengths, the needs, all those things, if you can write down those feelings, and then there's this writing exercise, and it takes whatever that feeling is. Let's say I'm frustrated. So you might write down, I'm frustrated at, and you fill that blank in. I'm frustrated that my project didn't get the reception that I thought it was. So I'm frustrated because my project didn't get the attention I thought it would. Or I feel guilty because I yelled at my daughter when she didn't put her clothes away, or something like that. So you just want to identify what is the feeling, and if you can, the reason behind that feeling. Um, and it might just be, I feel good because I got us all to school and work on time. I feel really good about that. So find those things that help you feel good. Um, and what I like about the writing, as opposed to sometimes talking about people, is that we can be more honest. There's no judgment when we write these things down. When you're done writing it, you can rip it up if you want. You can share it with somebody else if you want. But when you write out the feelings, it becomes more apparent about what you're feeling and the reasons why. So that can be really helpful for them dealing with the issue. So again, most often the things that are going to stress us out are the negative feelings, and that's often anger, jealousy, depression, and frustration. And it's not unusual to feel any of these when you are parenting, or when you are caring for an elder, or you're parenting a child with special needs, um, or your girlfriends or your boyfriends are going on a weekend trip, and you can't go because you can't find anybody to care for your parent or your child. These feelings are going to come up. And again, if you can identify that and then write it down, that's going to then help you be able to deal with it a little bit better. And the thing is a lot of times when these happen, that's when we want to strike out. We want to strike out at whoever's closest to us. It might be our partner, it might be our kid, it might be our parent. Um, and I know with my mom recently, I went to see her at rehab, and I had some little videos of my niece that my brother had sent me, and I showed them to mom because I knew it would make her happy. But she kept playing the same one over and over and over. And I'm standing there, I'm in a kind of a awkward position where it's not very comfortable for me. And she keeps playing it, and I say, give me the phone. And she doesn't give me the phone, and it starts building, and I can feel it. And eventually I just grabbed the phone. I just grabbed it and I said, quit being ridiculous. And then, of course, I feel terrible because all she was doing was wanting to see her granddaughter, and she was enjoying it, and it made her happy. And I thought I could have changed positions. I could have gone and sat down and let her watch that. A whole bunch of things. So what I had to do was say, okay, I'm frustrated, but it's more because I was uncomfortable, not that mom was watching the same video over and over and over. Um, I think I'm still a little frustrated as I said that. But what happens then if we can say this is how I'm feeling, and we can accept it, then it's going to be a little bit easier to ask for help if we need. And that's where I mean, I can't tell you how many people we see here in our program for parenting issues and for elder care issues. They are some of the main frustrations that people experience. So to ask for help or come get support, it's a good thing. If you can get past, well, I don't want to go and say I feel all this negative stuff. Well, if you don't, it might grow. So why not take the chance? I know there are parenting groups here on campus that is that it does. We have elder care, caregiving group. So there are resources here on campus that you can access. Um, and the sooner you do it, the less likely you're going to be to get out of control and then maybe do something that you regret. Just trying to make sure we're okay. Okay. So the other thing is about making a personal declaration, helpful statements. And I wrote some down so I wouldn't forget, but you might say things like, it's kind of a mantra type of thing that you repeat that helps you remember some of this stuff. Like, taking care of myself is necessary if I'm going to take care of someone else. It's that whole drop in the mask and the airplane thing, you put yours on first. Same thing. If you make sure that you are taking care of yourself, then you are going to have more to give to somebody else. Um, I know my own limitations and strength. I seek help when I need it. Now, that might be a little bit harder because you might be thinking, I'm not really sure what my limitations are all the time. Or, it might be easy to overlook that you have some strengths. It's easy, I think, when we're stressed out and in a caregiving position to forget that we have a lot of strengths that keep us going. Something else might be I have the right to feel what I feel and to express those feelings in a calm manner. What we don't really have the right to do is to lash out and hurt someone because of the way we're feeling. People do it, and there's consequences for that, but we have the right to feel that feeling. It's what we do with it and how we express it. Another one might be I realize that I can't control the happiness of another. I cannot feel all of their needs. No one person can, and that's really true. And that's what we see for people who, whether you're single or with a partner, is that there has to be some allowance for other people to help, because if you try to do it all, oftentimes there's mistakes made, or you can't stretch yourself that thin, and it makes it harder to be present. It makes it harder for us to feel good about what we are doing, because I think one of the things that happens to us a lot is we don't feel like we're being when we have a lot of things, like for those of you that are taking care of both, I don't feel like I'm being the best parent. I don't feel like I'm being the best son or daughter because I can't take care of, because I didn't do this. I'm not being a very good worker because I'm showing up tired. In all areas of our life, we feel like we're lacking because we're not always allowing people to help. And sometimes the fact is there's not anybody to help. And so that's where it becomes really important to find some sort of support network. There are now phone apps. There are, where there's a crisis line where you can talk to someone. There's caregivers hotline where you can talk to people. There's a lot of different support out there. And for most people, it's getting past that feeling of, I shouldn't need to do this. I should be able just to take care of my son and be fine with it. Why am I getting stressed over this? I know other people that are taking care of their parents and they're not feeling like this. Well, again, what we present on the outside is not always what we're experiencing on the inside. And that's why I'm a firm believer in talking when things aren't going well, because I think we find that when we are struggling with something, there are always other people that are also struggling with that. And boy, if we can work together and share experiences, maybe somebody says something that we think, oh gosh, I hadn't thought about that. Maybe I could do that. Or maybe they know a resource. When Terry Weber, our elder care specialist, and I do the caregivers support group on Wednesday, almost every time somebody says, oh yeah, I found this resource that the rest of us don't know about. And now we've been able to share that because everybody's come together for that purpose. So finding those support groups or reaching out to support lines, those things can be really helpful if you don't have somebody that can help you in the moment. But again, think about like, can anybody think of like a personal statement off the top of your head that you think would be helpful to you, whether you're taking care of your child, your kid, or an elder? Megan.
My husband repeats over and over, one thing at a time. Just do
Ah,
one thing at a time. And
okay.
that helps me.
Okay. One thing at a time. We're all doing our best. Yes. That's a good one too. you are setting a good example. Oh, that's a great one because, um, you know, that's, I think, keying in too on some of the positive that we're doing, that we're demonstrating that while it can be difficult, we are doing things well and there are good things that we're doing. I love these, one thing at a time, because it's easy, Megan. I imagine that, you're thinking about your daughter, you're thinking about your husband, you're thinking about work, you're thinking about other things that you have going on. And sometimes all those start to swirl around and it gets overwhelming. And for a lot of people, we freeze. It just becomes, I can't do anything. So if you can then say, okay, what is one thing I can do right now? Break it down into those smaller things. That's great. How can I help? Yeah, I mean, and that, I think sometimes, and this goes back to that idea of if we can accept our own limitations, we can also accept the limitations of others. So if say my mom, I ask her something and she snaps back at me, I know that being in a rehab facility and mending her legs and things like that, she's not home. She is frustrated. She's angry, and things like that. And maybe instead of snapping back, which is often my first instinct, I can say, Mom, what's going on? What do you need right now? Same thing for a child, maybe that is laying on the ground and they're crying, and you think, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this. I've been at work all day and now I have to deal with this. But can you stop and say, hey, what's going on here? Are you hungry? Do you need something to drink? What do you need? And sometimes they don't know, but the act of asking helps us, it reminds us that not only do we have needs, but so do our children, so do our elders. We are not alone in experiencing negative feelings. Okay, and then this, let's see here. Oops. Learn to relax. Okay. So this is a big one, and it's really easy for us to say, just relax, just, sit down, take a few breaths, just relax. Uh, and I know sometimes if somebody tells me that, I just think if I could relax, I would. And then I can feel myself getting a little worked up. But what are some of the things you all have found that help you either as you start to feel the stress, or maybe you are right in the middle of it and you have to stop and do something? What are some things that help you manage your stress? Or that manage your stress, but maybe you don't get to do it, but it would help. Candy Crush, zone out. Yes. Yep. That's like there's that Temu, that shopping place, but they've got these little Fishland game, and I will sit there and play that. Playing a video game, that's relaxing. Yes. And it's interesting, Tara, because we hear kids all the time say that playing a video game is relaxing to them. And for a lot of them, it really is. Whether, just it can depend on the game, but yeah, taking deep breaths, taking walks, yoga, having a few minutes of quiet time. Yes. So those are great. Deep breathing. I know I kind of teased about it, but deep breathing is one of the best ways to manage stress and anxiety, because what it does is it tells our brain is that we're okay, that we are not in fight or flight, that we are okay, that we can handle the situation. And it brings us back, and I don't know all the technical terms, but it brings us back to our center is what I say, so that I can stop and say to what Megan says is one thing at a time. What can I do right now? Yeah, and Tina, you're right. Sometimes you do have to say, breathe. Actually, I mean, granted, it's something that we just do, but sometimes I know I will realize I'm holding my breath, and if I can say to myself, come on, just breathe, take a few breaths, it is that reminder. It's like, okay, let's do this. Let's do some deep breathing. So yes, reminding yourself to do that, and think about the very second that you're in. Yeah. Because that's the only thing really we have a lot of control on about is is what's happening right now. And if we get too far behind, there's a lot of guilt, there's a lot of resentment. Maybe if we get too far ahead, there can be fear, there can be resentment, there can be all sorts of things. But if we can stay in this moment, then we can do something with it. And even if maybe your kid is screaming and you're a single parent and your kid is screaming and you feel like you just you want to I don't know, throw them against the wall. That's terrible, and I hope you don't do that. But that's where you start feeling it. Go to the bathroom. Just go and lock the door for a couple minutes, do some breathing, get yourself centered again, and then come back out. And then that makes it a little bit easier to say, what do you need? What's going on? How are we going to do this? And what we're also doing is showing kids that it's okay to get upset, but it's how we deal with it. So those are great. Video games, our phone. Some people read. Does anybody do creative kind of stuff? Pray. Oh yeah, pray for peace. My granny used to say, "Don't pray for peace, Aunt Mason." She said, because God will give you the challenges that you need for that peace. So I've always remembered that, but I still pray for peace. Sometimes I'm like, God, just slow down my brain. Just let me have a minute here to breathe. Mm-hmm. So prayer can be a lot for a lot of people. What about, do most of you have people that you can call and talk to that would understand what's going on with you? Or whether it's friend or family or I don't know, anybody. Or is that one of the hard ones? Let's see. There's the meditation one. A lot of people like to meditate. Maybe listening to some music, whether it's putting in your earbuds or turning up, I'll age myself with the record player, the tape deck really loud and listening. Anything that, for some people, cooking might be something that is relaxing. Some people journal. But if you get stuck and you think, I don't know what I enjoy, think back to when you were young and what were some of the things back then that you remember giving you a sense of peace or a sense of kind of getting lost in the moment, and see if those still work. You can always Google relaxing activities and see if any of those ping and you think, yeah, I think I could try that one. Don't be scared to try something new. But also think about small doses, because it might be that you have to maybe getting up 15 minutes earlier and you think there is no way I can get up any earlier, but can you get up 10 minutes earlier and maybe just, stay there in bed and think about the day and say your mantra, your prayer, your hopes for the day or something like that. Where can you fit in some of these little bits of time? So these are some references of where I got this information. I definitely did not write all this or think about all this on my own, but these are where I got a lot of that information, and I encourage you all to check it out. Like I said, you all are eligible for your 5 free visits. These are, there's myself, there's Rhonda, Eric, and Kim. We all have similar specialties and we have individual specialties, but we all, are willing to listen to you and talk to you. The wait time is not very long. We feel good about that. We do have some contract workers, 2 out of Louisville and 1 who is Spanish speaking here in town. But if you go to the website, you can see what's available and get the information. And I hope that you will do that, because this isn't easy. I mean, in general, life is a challenge, and when we try to do it by ourselves, it just gets really hard. And I know sometimes we're shy or we've been hurt and we don't want to risk it again. But if we can make small steps towards doing that, we're going to feel better 99% of the time. So what kind of questions do you all have? You want to unmute yourself and ask any questions.